So about 100 years ago, the seas of the Indian Ocean had many ships going to and fro from Africa with King Prempeh on board with 52 of his elders. And they were beginning their journey into exile.
This year marks the centenary of Nana Agyemang Prempeh's return from exile in Seychelles. Whilst he was in Seychelles, the Nana Agyemang Prempeh never ever forgot his roots. He lived as a nobleman, he lived his life as a royal, he conducted himself regally, and over the years, he never ever gave up hope of coming back home to his people.
The Seychelles-Ghana story has been running for well over 120 years. We have cohabitated, we've lived together as friends, as hosts to Ghanaian monarchy. Over the many years, Nana Agyemang Prempeh I was brought into this island as a prisoner, but not as a captive. He rode from Kumasi to Elmina in a palanquin. It was a matter of stooping to conquer. It was a matter of foresight and making sure that at that point in time, antagonizing your aggressors wasn't the cleverest way.
So even though Asante Hene Prempeh I had been captured, the spirit of Asante remained strong. 100 years on, we see that the spirit of Asante remains, and in the leadership of Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II, the 16th occupant of the Golden Stool or the Gold Stool, Asante is still strong.
So within the Ashanti culture, textile is a canvas for cultural expression. So we express ourselves through the weaving techniques of kente. I don't know if you've seen the picture of Nana Agyemang Prempeh being carried in a palanquin to go to Seychelles, and he was wearing a very beautiful kente fabric. And some of these pictures will be on display to show you that way before, so this is like over 100 years ago, and this is something that we were proud as Ghanaians to even carry to another place.
At the Seychelles National Institute for Culture, Heritage and the Arts, we are continuously preserving our heritage. We take examples from King Prempeh and, of course, the conservation that has been done to protect his legacy.
I think the important thing is that it is being celebrated now, and we should make sure that it continues well into the future.
In order to speak about Otumfuo Nana Agyemang Prempeh I, one has to speak in the context of Asante Kingdom. Nana Prempeh I was the 13th Asante Hene. The kingdom was started by Osei-Tutu I, or to give him his right title, Otumfuo Osei-Tutu I. The kingdom was started in 1701, and it was a coming together of the various groups. Osei-Tutu was first the chief of Kwamai. He had succeeded his uncle Obriyabua, and he came from Akwamu. He was in servitude in Dencha at the time. He then came to Akwamu and then met Komfo Anochi, Komfo Koko, and they came to what was then Kwamai, which later became Kumasi. And the kingdom was started in 1701. And the focus of the kingdom was to organize and go after their adversaries and indeed capture the essence of the people, which then became the name that we know today, Asante. It started as Esa Enti because of war. People came together. And when they organized, the great spiritual advice and counsel of Okomfo Anochi Osei Tutu organized and was able to defeat Denchira at the Battle of Eyase. That's where Intim Jakari, the then Denchira Hine, fell. And that was the beginning of the kingdom. So from Osei Tutu to Opokuware to Kusi Obodom to Sekweju Okunewia to Nanase Kwame, Okufofie, Nanase Sibebonsu, Nanase Yawakoto, and so on. Prempeh the first was the 13th, and he succeeded his brother Kwakudia Otosumienu. Unfortunately, he went to be with the ancestors just 40 days after his accession to the stool. In any case, Prempeh's reign was at the height of British colonialism in Africa or in the world. And more importantly, in present-day Ghana, the British and the Asantes were at loggerheads because the British wanted to take control of the kingdom. In so doing, Prempeh the first, who had ascended the stool at the tender age of 18, understood that the war effort would require a lot of weaponry, and he saw that actually the British felt and thought he embodied the Asante. Unbeknownst to them, the spirit of Asante is in Sikejwa Kofi. So he gave himself up, and this is where his significance and importance come to the fore. He gave himself up for the greater good of Asante, and at the age of 27, he agreed to be exiled to Seychelles. First, the British took him to Elmina. The Asantes followed for their king. He was in Elmina for about 3 months. And then the British decided, no, we have to take him to a far place. They took him to Sierra Leone, present-day Sierra Leone. And there he was for about 2 years. And again, the Asantes went for their king. Finally, the British took him over the waters, as it were, to where we are now, which is Seychelles. And here he spent 27 solid years. He came with his mother, his father, he has wives, other chiefs were amongst the group that came to Seychelles. Whilst in Seychelles, war broke out again because the British realized that the embodiment of Asante was in Sikejwa Kofi, the golden, or what we call the gold stool. Not so much the golden stool, but it's a gold stool. So they came for the gold stool. And Nana Yasantua, the queen mother of Ejiso at the time, organized a war effort, and she was at the age of 77. And she fought the British vehemently, but ultimately she was captured and also brought to Seychelles.
Well, King Prempeh's identity was known to everybody. He didn't have to do much to maintain his identity. He was a king, or was referred to as the ex-king, but he was the Asante Hine and was known to everybody. His dignity I would put down to the comfort that was created for him by his hosts, if I can call it that. Yes, his hosts and his elders who were all around him, and made sure that he was comfortable, he was in good health, and in good spirits.
So as we celebrate his return home, like I have said, he never forgot his roots. And the impact he had here was that even as he left some of his descendants here, and they continue the tradition in Seychelles.
My role is look after Seychellois interests in Ghana. In the same breath, I have made sure that the few Ghanaians that came here over the last 10 years have actually grown into a formidable force. We are actively promoting Ghanaian interests in Seychelles and vice versa, building the bonds of trade, growing our mutual destinies, making sure that we succeed as a team, not as an individual. We live in harmony, we build, we grow, and we see the success.
So I wanted to exhibit in Seychelles because we have a long history with the island of Seychelles. We want other people to know who we are as Ghanaians or the people from the kingdom. So I'm not a Prempeh myself, but I'm a Krobi Ashanti, and you can't get any more Ashanti than that. So it's also a moment for those of us who are not necessarily related to the blood to also contribute our quota to the kingdom.
The exhibition that we opened yesterday is the first step in deepening our cultural ties with Ghana, of course. We have a long history dating back to the 1900s, of course, with King Prempeh coming to Seychelles. So we expect to have more of exchanges in terms of exhibition. We would also like to see cultural performances, artists of both of our countries coming to exhibit, so that we can really share the joint history that we have with each other. I think this is the best way to deepen cooperation between the two nations, is people-to-people connections, and culture is known as the vehicle for that.
Well, he is very much alive because he's got descendants here. We've got a number of members of the Prempeh family who were born in Seychelles and who are still living in Seychelles. And I guess, and this is what I've been told, in Ashanti, they also, some still speak Creole. So it's there, alive, with, and therefore we have to keep the tradition going.